My son sent me on the cruise of my dreams, but I discovered it was a one-way ticket. I don't mean the ship was going to sink. I mean my life, as I knew it, was meant to end the moment I stepped on board, leaving behind an empty house for my only child to plunder. He and his wife thought a 7-day Alaskan cruise was enough to erase a lifetime, to steal the home my husband and I had poured our hearts into for 40 years. They were wrong. Before we continue, please subscribe, tap like, and tell me what city you're watching from in the comments. It started with a glacier. I was standing on the veranda of my stateroom, the cold Alaskan air sharp in my lungs, watching chunks of ancient blue ice calve off into the frigid water. It was majestic, exactly as I'd always imagined. My son, Mark, and his wife, Tiffany, had given me this trip for my 68th birthday. "You deserve it, Mom," Mark had said, hugging me at the terminal in Seattle. "Just relax, don't worry about a thing. We'll even check on the house for you." That was their first mistake. Telling a mother not to worry is like telling the tide not to turn. The trouble began on day 3 in Juneau. I found a beautiful hand-carved wooden puffin for my mantelpiece, a little memento. I went to pay, handing the cashier my credit card, the one I use for small treats. She ran it, and her smile faltered. "I'm so sorry, ma'am, it's been declined." Declined? That was impossible. I pay my balance in full every single month. It's a habit my late husband, Bill, instilled in me. "Never owe anyone a penny if you can help it," he'd say, sorting our receipts in his old biscuit tin. I still keep that tin on my desk. Flustered, I paid with my debit card, but a seed of unease had been planted. Back on the ship, I decided to use the ridiculously expensive ship-wide Wi-Fi to check my account. For $25, I got an hour of internet that moved at the speed of a melting glacier. As the banking page slowly loaded, my heart started to thrum against my ribs. It wasn't just the one card. A second card was also declined. Then I saw it, an email alert from my bank's mortgage division. The subject line was, "Action required on your HELOC application." HELOC? A home equity line of credit? I clicked it open, my hands starting to tremble. It was a sterile, formal email thanking me for my application for a $200,000 line of credit against my home. My home! My paid-off for 17 years home in Vancouver, Washington. The home where I raised Mark, the home where Bill had planted the hydrangeas that still bloomed every summer in a riot of blue and purple. I hadn't applied for any loan. I didn't need a loan. Bill's life insurance and my pension were more than enough for my quiet life of quilting circles, church choir, and tending my garden. My first thought was identity theft, a faceless criminal. I immediately called Mark from the ship-to-shore phone, which cost a small fortune per minute. He answered, his voice sounding distant and crackly. "Mom, is everything okay? Are you having fun?" "Mark, someone's trying to take a loan out on the house," I said, my voice tight. "My identity's been stolen." There was a pause. Not a worried pause. It was a hesitant pause. The kind a child gives when they've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar. "Oh, Mom, you must be confused. You know how you get with these new websites and things. It's probably just a spam email." "It's not spam, Mark. It has the bank's official logo and my address on it. It says an application was filed 4 days ago. 4 days ago was the day after I set sail. Can you please go to the bank for me? Go to our branch on Mill Plain Boulevard. Talk to Susan. She knows me." "Mom, Tiffany and I are swamped. Her sister's having a baby shower. We can't just drop everything," he said, his voice laced with an irritation that was like a slap in the face. Just enjoy the cruise. We'll sort it out when you get back. It's probably nothing." He hung up before I could say another word. I stood there, receiver in hand, a deep, chilling cold seeping into my bones that had nothing to do with Alaska. It was the cold of betrayal. Mark wasn't just dismissive, he was deflecting. My hour of internet was about to expire. With frantic, clumsy fingers, I typed my address into the Clark County property record search. The page took an eternity to load. When it finally resolved, the world tilted on its axis. Right there, in stark black and white, was a document filed on May 12th. Title: Quitclaim Deed. Grantor: me, Ellen Pierce. Grantee: the Mark and Tiffany Family Trust. A quitclaim deed? It meant I willingly signed my house over to them for the sum of $1. My signature, or a clever forgery of it, was right there on the scanned document, followed by a notary stamp. The name of the notary was Patricia Jenkins. I had never met a Patricia Jenkins in my life. The date of the notary stamp was May 11th. I boarded this cruise ship on May 10th. On May 11th, according to the ship's daily itinerary, a copy of which was sitting on my stateroom desk, we were at sea somewhere off the coast of British Columbia. There was no way I could have been in Vancouver, Washington, signing a legal document in front of a notary. The cruise was my alibi. The beautiful Alaskan landscape outside my window suddenly felt like the wall of a very elegant, very cold prison. I wasn't on vacation. I had been removed. They had waited until I was out of the country, unreachable, to steal my home out from under me. The HELOC application now made a sickening sort of sense. Once the house was in their name, they could borrow against its full value, bleed it dry. By the time I got home, it would have been too late. The money would be gone, and the house I thought was mine forever would be nothing more than collateral for their debt.
My son, my only child, had he truly become this stranger? I thought of him as a little boy, his face sticky with popsicle juice, telling me he'd take care of me forever. I thought of Tiffany, always so complimentary, always admiring my quilts. "Oh, Ellen, you're so talented. This house is just gorgeous. You have such amazing taste." I saw it all now. The compliments weren't admiration, they were appraisals. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, the ship creaking around me, and I started a list. I used the back of a cruise daily planner. Step 1, document everything. I took a picture of the ship's itinerary with my phone. I took pictures of the quitclaim deed on the tiny laptop screen. I went through my cruise photos and found one of me at dinner on May 11th, a timestamp in the corner of the digital file, the rolling sea visible through the dining room window behind me. The next day, I didn't get off the ship in Ketchikan. I found a quiet lounge and bought another hour of internet. I dug deeper. The notary, Patricia Jenkins. I found her on a professional networking site. Her profile listed her as a mobile notary public. Her location was listed as Beaverton, Oregon, about a 40-minute drive from my house. Close, but not my neighbor. What was more interesting was her connection list. Right there, third from the top, was Tiffany Pierce. They were connected. Friends, maybe. My stomach churned. This wasn't a random notary. This was an accomplice. I spent the rest of my cruise not as a tourist, but as a detective. I became invisible. I'd sit in the ship's library, pretending to read, but I was just thinking, planning. I ate my meals alone, going over the details in my head. I had a conversation with a lovely woman named Carol at my dinner table, a retired paralegal from Arizona. I vaguely mentioned a friend going through a property issue, and her eyes sharpened with professional interest. "Tell your friend to check the notary's journal," she advised. Every notary is required by law to keep a detailed log of every signature they witness, usually including a thumbprint. The county clerk can subpoena it. A notary journal. That was another piece of the puzzle, another weapon. When the ship finally docked back in Seattle, I felt like a different woman than the one who had boarded a week earlier. The naive excitement was gone, replaced by a cold, hard clarity. I had my bag packed, a folder of printed screenshots tucked safely inside. When I stepped off the gangplank, I saw Mark and Tiffany waiting. They were smiling, waving, holding a "Welcome Home, Mom" sign. Tiffany was holding a bouquet of lilies, the kind that makes me sneeze. She'd always forgotten that. It was all a performance, and for the first time, I could see right through it. Tiffany's smile was as fake as the signature on that deed. Mark's eyes, my son's eyes, wouldn't quite meet mine. "Mom, you look great! Did you have the best time?" Tiffany chirped, stepping forward for a hug. I let her wrap her arms around me, but I remained stiff. I could smell the lie on her. I pulled away and looked at Mark. "It was very informative," I said. His smile flickered. "Great, well, let's get you home. You must be exhausted." "No," I said, my voice steady and clear. "I'm not going home with you." Their faces froze. The smiles melted away, replaced by identical masks of confusion. "What are you talking about, Mom?" Mark asked, a hint of panic in his voice. "Take me to the Marriott near the airport," I told the porter who was holding my suitcase. I turned back to my son and daughter-in-law. Their shock was delicious. They had expected their gentle, agreeable mother, the quilter, the baker of pies. They had no idea they had just awakened a sleeping giant. "I'll be in touch," I said, and walked away, leaving them standing there with a wilting bouquet of lies and a useless sign. The first battle was over. The war for my home, for my life, was just beginning. The Seattle Marriott hotel room was beige and anonymous, a perfect blank canvas for a new beginning. I didn't cry. The shock had burned away, leaving behind a cold, purposeful anger. I took out my folder of printed evidence, the screenshots of the forged deed, my cruise ship itinerary, the timestamp photos of me hundreds of miles out at sea, the profile of the notary who was Tiffany's friend. I laid them out on the king-size bed like a general planning a campaign. The first call I made was to Miss Albright, the elder fraud attorney Carol from the cruise had recommended. Her office was in downtown Portland. She listened to my whole story without interruption. A series of quiet, was the only sound on her end. When she was finished, there was a pause. "Mrs. Pierce," she said, her voice calm and firm. "First, I am so sorry this is happening to you. Second, you did everything right by gathering that preliminary evidence. Your cruise is an airtight alibi. This case is not a he said, she said. It's a you were verifiably on a boat situation. That is very, very strong." Relief washed over me, so potent it made me dizzy. For the first time in days, I felt like I could breathe. We made an appointment for the next morning. My second call was to my bank's fraud department. I gave them the ECLOC application number from the email. I told them I was disputing it, that the property had been transferred into my son's name via a fraudulent deed, and that I had an attorney. That single word, attorney, changed the entire tone of the conversation. An immediate freeze was placed on the application. The man on the phone assured me a senior fraud investigator would be in touch. Checkmate, move 1. The next day, Ms. Albright's office was a fortress of quiet competence. She was a sharp woman in her 50s with intelligent eyes. She reviewed my documents and nodded. "The deed is the key. We need to prove the forgery to nullify it. To do that, we need to focus on the notary." She hired a private investigator for me, a man named Mr. Klein, a former detective. While he got to work, I started the painful process of protecting myself. I put fraud alerts on my credit, changed all my banking passwords, and arranged for my mail to be held at the post office. I couldn't risk them intercepting any more of my documents. 2 days later, Mr. Klein delivered the bombshell. He'd done more than just look up the notary, Patricia Jenkins. He found her public social media pages. And on May 11th, the very day she supposedly witnessed my signature in Vancouver, Washington, she had posted a series of photos to her Instagram story. They were pictures of her and her family having a wonderful time at Cannon Beach on the Oregon coast, over 2 hours away from my house. One picture was of her holding a corn dog, a goofy grin on her face. The caption read, "Best family day ever." The post was geotagged to Cannon Beach and timestamped at 2:15 p.m. The notary stamp on my forged deed was for 2 p.m. the same day. It was physically impossible for her to have been in 2 places at once. It was the nail in her coffin and theirs. She had not only forged a document, she had created her own alibi, proving she'd done it. The arrogance was breathtaking. Keep watching. There will be justice. Miss Albright's next move was swift. She filed a quiet title lawsuit, a legal action to clear up ownership disputes. We also filed a formal police report and a complaint with Adult Protective Services. The paperwork included copies of everything: my cruise ship records, the forged deed, and Patricia Jenkins' Instagram posts from Cannon Beach. The evidence was irrefutable. That's when the calls started. First Mark, then Tiffany, then Mark again. I didn't answer. They left frantic, tearful voicemails. "Mom, there's been a huge misunderstanding," Mark pleaded in one message, his voice cracking. "We were just trying to help you manage your finances. The trust was to protect you. We can fix this, please. Just call me back." Protect me? By stealing my house and plunging it into $200,000 of debt? The lies were so flimsy, so insulting. Then came the text messages, a deluge of them. Tiffany's were the worst. "Ellen, you're tearing this family apart over a piece of paper. You're being cruel. Think of your grandson. How can you do this to your own son?" I looked at the message, my hand steady. I thought about the quilt I was making for my grandson Liam for his 8th birthday, the one with the little spaceships all over it, the quilt that was still in my sewing room, in the house they had stolen. I typed back a single sentence: "Speak to my lawyer," and then I blocked both their numbers. The process felt slow, but Ms. Albright assured me the wheels of justice were turning. The district attorney's office opened a criminal investigation into Mark and Tiffany for forgery, identity theft, and financial elder abuse. Patricia, the notary, had her notary license suspended immediately pending the investigation. Her entire career was collapsing because she decided to do a favor for a dishonest friend. The quiet title action was heard by a judge 3 months later. Mark and Tiffany were there, looking thin and pale. They didn't have a lawyer. They couldn't afford one. Tiffany shot me a hateful look from across the courtroom. Mark wouldn't look at me at all. My heart ached for the boy he once was, but that boy was gone. The man sitting there was a stranger. It took less than 15 minutes. Miss Albright presented the evidence. The judge looked at my cruise ship boarding pass, my onboard expense report showing purchases made on May 11th, and then at the time-stamped geotagged picture of Patricia Jenkins eating a corn dog at the beach. He looked at the forged Ds. He didn't even ask my son a question. He simply brought his gavel down. The deed was declared null and void. The title to my home was restored to me, fully and legally. I walked out of the courtroom and took my first deep, clean breath in months. It was over. Or so I thought. The criminal case proceeded. Faced with the evidence, Patricia the notary crumbled. To avoid a long prison sentence, she testified against Mark and Tiffany, admitting that Tiffany had paid her $500 in cash to put a fake stamp on a document she knew I hadn't signed. That Tiffany, she said, had practiced my signature for a week to get it right. That detail cut me deeper than anything else. The meticulous effort of the betrayal. Don't click away. He'll get what's coming. In the end, Mark and Tiffany took a plea deal. They were convicted of felony forgery. They were sentenced to 5 years of probation, ordered to pay restitution for all my legal fees and the cost of the private investigator, and were mandated to complete 200 hours of community service, working at a senior center, of all things. The felony conviction meant Tiffany lost her real estate license. Mark lost his job in the finance department of a local car dealership. Their carefully constructed suburban life crumbled into dust. I got my house back, but it wasn't my home anymore. While they had possession, they had started a pre-HELOC renovation. They had torn out my perfectly good kitchen cabinets, the ones Bill and I had installed together. My cast iron skillet, seasoned over 40 years of family meals, was gone. They had painted over my beautiful sage green living room with a depressing landlord special gray. The house felt tainted, filled with the ghosts of their greed. So I sold it. I sold the house that held 40 years of memories and used the money to buy a beautiful, light-filled condo in a vibrant 55-plus community a few towns over. It has a secure entry, a pool, and a garden plot where I'm planting hydrangeas, just for me this time. I gave away most of the heavy old furniture and bought new things that were bright and comfortable. My son has tried to reach out through other family members, sending messages about forgiveness and second chances. I sent back one final message. Forgiveness is one thing, trust is another. You took a match to the bridge between us. Now you have to live on your side of the ashes. I disinherited him completely, setting up my will so that everything I have goes into a protected trust for my grandson, Liam, which he can't access until he is 30 years old. My son will never see another penny from me. My life is smaller now, but it's more peaceful. My new neighbors are wonderful, a group of us have a quilting circle that meets on Tuesdays, and our church has a choir that needs a steady alto. My revenge wasn't loud or explosive. It was quiet, it was legal, it was absolute. My revenge is the sound of my own key turning in the lock of a door to a home that is truly mine. To all the women out there, especially those of us who have spent our lives caring for others, please remember to care for yourselves. Check your own bank accounts, read your own mail. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you're being difficult for asking questions about your own life. We are not burdens, we are not clueless, and we are not invisible. We are stronger than we know. This was my personal experience, and I'm sharing it for awareness, not as advice. But I will say this, find your strength and never, ever let anyone take your home.
So another story of my grandmother has end, and be clicking here, you will have when more such stories.